Welcome everybody to the latest episode of the Unstuck Club. And Jodene just said to me, okay, you start today. I mean, we don't have an official schedule or anything like that. And I think it's that time of year. I sent a message to someone because they sent an invite. This is the way I think people will identify with this. I got a message today that there's a tenant meeting on Sunday here. We have a get together and we've got new tenants here. And I've sent a message straight back, said, no, can't do Sunday. I'm fetching so-and-so. Friends are arriving from the UK. And then she messaged back and said, this Sunday. And I went, oh no, it's the 1st. Said, sorry. And I messaged back, fried Brian instead of brain, which just made her laugh even harder. And I was like, fried Brian, that's exactly it's yeah. I mean, you know, we've had so many major, we've had some, not many, but we've had some major big shifts, which I want to talk about and bring in today. But it feels very unsettled. And I think we're like, it's, you know, when I don't know if you've ever seen those videos where they have those like floating paths on the ocean and you have to walk. But the thing is, you have to kind of walk in time with it. Otherwise, you end up going all over the place. Feels a bit like that.
Yeah, it does.
But I'm good. It's hot, very hot here in the Lowveld. We're in the middle of a heat wave. I know some people listening to this are freezing with Arctic temperatures and more to come. So even the weather is very unsettled. So I think unsettled, but okay. Funnily enough, there's still this sense of it will be okay.
Yeah,
and how are you, Jo?
I'm good. I'm feeling exactly the same. I'm really feeling the same way as you. And what I'm finding, because I'm so happy to tell people how I feel, right? So I'm so happy to interestingly, you know, in a phone call when someone goes, how are you? I never just go, I'm fine, how are you? I actually end up with, you know. And I had a friend of mine say, like, take a breath. And I was like, I think I'm fine. You know, and I suppose just because I know what it means to not be fine for myself. Like I don't shy away. Yeah, I don't shy away from saying things like it's a really, really hectic time now, you know, or there's so much going on. I'm quite fine to say it, but there's nothing that I'm not coping with or not managing. Another thing that a lot of people say to me is, be kind to yourself, be gentle to yourself. I'm like, you have no idea the degree of kindness and gentleness that I do actually have with myself, really. So I'm good. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there is. I mean, in the space of the last 10 days, I've been on 3 different webinars around what is happening kind of planetary. And yes, I know there are people who will probably roll their eyes and go, oh, you know, this astrology and energy and numerology nonsense. But, you know, looking particularly at the numerology, and that next year, 2025, is the universal, it's the end of a cycle. It's the 9-year, which is letting go. And I have a question for you about this, because a lot has been happening for me in the last few days, actually, around relationships, but also like work situations and that. And although we're still in the 8-year, are we preparing ourselves energetically to go into that space of what do I need to let go of? What loose ends do I need to tie up? And before you answer that, one of the things that, and I know you and I have spoken about this, one of the things I want to do in my business is get away from this this is the way you're supposed to do your marketing, and this is, those fabulous words, lead magnets and sales funnels, which I really have never resonated with. And what I realized I was doing is I keep following or getting emails from people, because when you subscribe to something on a website, you always have to give them your email address. And I keep getting these things like, here's this webinar on how to get, 50 new clients this month. And I've been sitting and unsubscribing.
Yep.
And it feels like just creating space for whatever the new is. And I don't know how the new is going to look yet in terms of my work. I just know that it has to change. So is that something, like, if anyone else is feeling like, I feel like I've outgrown this, or I'm not enjoying that, or this doesn't serve me, or this doesn't work for me anymore, is that a thing?
It definitely is a thing. And the way that I know it's a thing is because I've been chatting to a lot of people who are asking me, Joe, what's going on? Energetically, what's going on? And the place where they're stuck is a lot of people, it is the conversation of, I'm looking for business, I'm looking for new work, and the responses are the same. I actually had someone say to me that they were so excited because it was like nearly 2,000 responses to a free, I can't remember what they did, but they did something free. It was 2,000 responses, and then not one person out of 2,000 people, okay, not one person did the follow on, and they were just so demotivated and so frustrated and like, what's going on? And then actually yesterday I spoke to we've just met. So she's a very new friend. She has been in marketing for like years, 2 decades, right? And she said she doesn't know what she's going to do because she just can't do another lead. She just can't do it. She can't accept it for herself, and she actually doesn't even want to create it anymore. So it is very much in line with the 9. It is in line with the 9, and it is in line with energetically a whole dynamic. And even if we take the planets off the table, right?
Yeah.
And we just talk about how desperate people are to not be backed into a corner because actually someone wants something more from you. And I think that what's really happening is that people are now getting to the point where they're going, okay, so I'm going to play you at your game. And it's not even, I don't even think it is conscious anymore. I think it is so absolutely subconscious. The thing is, I'm going to play you at your game. You're going to offer me something free. I'm going to take the free because you've offered it. And because there's so many free bits, I think that people now think that with those free bits, they have the capacity to sort themselves out or figure their own thing out.
Yeah.
Like just across the board, you can do a social media free webinar, and then you'll know exactly how to run a social media campaign. Here's a free webinar on how to design something for your website, and now you can do that. And people who are actually offering something that is unique and does make a difference cannot be offering anything for free, because people have become accustomed to taking things for free. It's the toothache thing. Like, if someone has toothache and they're really and truly petrified of the dentist, right? They will endure the toothache.
Yeah, they'll try and use painkillers and teas and all kinds of things.
Yeah, they'll just do a whole lot of different things. The 9 in numerology, what happens with the 9 though is that there's a lot of wisdom in the 9. It calls for a lot of wisdom in the 9. It also has a level of really calling for you to to be true to yourself. It's a big thing, like to be realistic and see what no longer serves you. And I think that we're going to start to feel that. We are going to start to feel that people are going to ask themselves, does all of this serve me? Does what I'm doing serve me? The way that I've been putting things out, the way that I've been trying to attract the clients, the way that I've been trying to even attract the relationship that I want, like what actually is within my integrity. I'm fascinated by it, because I mean, if I could just say one thing my whole life, because I don't know how many times I said it to you, like the whole point, I honestly believe the entire point of life is to get to know yourself and understand yourself.
I believe that too. Absolutely.
Completely, absolutely. But everyone's trying to get to know themselves and understand themselves, but then trying to use somebody else's formula the whole time.
Yeah, and also I think a lot of the time, which is possibly why they latch onto so much that is free, and also I think it also tripped up a lot of us this year in the 8 year, and that we only focused on the words prosperity and abundance. Like, yes, this is my year for abundance. Well, there is another side to that. We don't like to admit to certain aspects of ourselves. The moment it gets painful, which is why it's so good to work with either a therapist or a coach or a healer or a mentor. We don't push it. There's very few people who push themselves deeply enough into their stuff. And we all have stuff. I don't think there's anyone, certainly not listening to this, that can say they don't have stuff. We all have our triggers. We all have those long-held emotions, beliefs, whatever they are. But we don't like to go deep. And I think that's part of the problem. So there's enough in the free offering to pique the interest and give you enough information to go, oh, yeah, that's exactly what I am. But the moment it's like, invest in it. Now we want you to invest in yourself, and there's a cost to that. What? Oh, no, I can't afford that.
Yeah. And there should be a cost. There should be a cost, because
it has to be an energy exchange. You can't it's why so many government initiatives fail when stuff is just given to people. I watched a video the other day, debt collectors in the UK. A single mother, I think she's got one child, in a council house or a rented house, which is rented by the council for single mothers or the needy to stay in, was £11,000 in arrears with her rent, because she'd spent that on designer clothes. So the benefit that she got, she spent on designer clothes, and was absolutely throwing a hissy fit because now she was being thrown out on the street with her baby. So carry on.
That's going to be, now you're talking about the big planetary shifts. Now you're talking about like what's like the biggest stuff to come. Now we're talking about, there's a shift in consciousness. And when I was a little girl, I remember 40 years ago, I think, I don't know when the song came out, but the song Dawning of the Age of Aquarius, I think it's 40 years old, right?
Yeah, easily.
And they were talking about this time. They were talking about where we are now.
Yeah, they are the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
We are in it. And slowly over the last couple of years, I mean, we had a major planetary shift in Aquarius during 2020. And it's all of this. And what we've got to understand about what happens when we're in the energy of Aquarius is that it is it is so humanitarian. It's so humanitarian, and it's so visionary that there isn't actually place for out of integrity. There isn't a lot of place for out of integrity. And also what happens is people come together as community, and what happens when you form community? When you form a strong enough community, you actually go, actually, we don't need anyone else besides our community. And then what happens with that is that we're just going to see more and more and more of it. And that's why I'm so calm about what's happening in the world, is because for me, integrity wins. Maybe it's really, really messy for it to get there. Maybe there's a whole lot of destruction and chaos and all of those kind of things for it to get there. But it's impossible for us to not see the beautiful result of virtue and values and integrity and honesty and grace and all of those kind of things. The problem is we haven't had people in positions who have been able to show those qualities for so long that kind of lost faith that it's ever going to, return. But that's the power of the communities, because it keeps on coming together. And someone who doesn't have the grace and the integrity to put their child first and a roof over their head first, that's the results that we're going to start to see.
And I think we really need to start getting unstuck from living these comfortable, like, I don't want to say mundane, because it's not always a mundane. Some people are in fact, there was a beautiful blog post once, and it was, I live a mundane life and I'm really happy. And there are people who absolutely enjoy being a mother, not working, just making sure the family is cared for and nurtured. So I'm not in any way putting that down. But to give you a really beautiful example, the little school that I'm involved with, I'm on the board here, they've had a number of notifications of children not coming back this next year for various reasons. And it's obviously having a significant impact on the budget. The owner of the school, who's a close friend, there's been lots of stress. It's a lot. And it's situations like that really, you really have to hold fast to your trust and go, this is going to work out. And she came to see me yesterday. And I mean, her shift in energy is so beautiful, but she was so excited because she was like, oh my goodness, now I've realized just what I can do here, because her big passion is environmental and skills development for children who are not suited to academic mainstream. And there's a lot of kids out there who don't, who fall outside that parameter. And she was like, I've got all these ideas. And she said, I wouldn't have had any of them if the school had just kept growing and getting the numbers and we're just focusing on academics. Now, all of a sudden, I'm seeing all of these ways that not only can we make much more use of the farm, make it productive and income generating, but also fulfill an absolute passion of hers. Like, she has a wonderful team of educators, so that's taken care of. But her exact words were, I would never have thought of all of this if everything was just going to seamlessly slide into 2025 with an extra 10 kids or 15 kids or whatever. I was like, that's so interesting. I had a similar realization this morning, looking at my business and my offerings, and there's that wonderful 80-20, the Pareto principle. And I was like, you're focusing on all the small things that makes each in themselves make so little money. You're going to have to work so hard. Whereas if you focus on these packages that you keep talking about but haven't actually put into practice, you need a quarter of them to generate the same income. And I was like, oh my word. And I'm now going to go on my website. I'm taking everything off my shop because I've got all these different things. Half the time I can't even remember what I've charged. Somebody phones me and I go, oh, hang on, I'll have to get back to you, because I haven't done one for ages and I've forgotten. what price I put on it. And I looked at when I did the sums, and I've started looking at a book called Profit First. And there's a thing he says, don't think you have to work harder or get more business. It is to manage what you already have. I'm not going to go into the dynamics of it here, but it was just that, like, everyone's like, I need to grow, I need more clients. And I was like, I don't need more clients. I need to change what my focus is. But I've got stuck on what I've done for so long. The packages are out of my comfort zone. I need to put them out to a wider audience. And I was like, oh, but this is exciting. Like, the first time in a long time, I was like, I'm excited about this potential. And it came about because financially things are, a little bit scary at the moment. So we know that from that, it's comfortable, but it's not necessarily what we should be doing. I love that question of yours, Joe, from the webinar the other night about, like, how is this serving you?
It's going to be such a big question next year. Yeah. It's really going to be such a big question. And I just, so important for people to just understand how important it is to answer that question for yourself, not answer that question, not have too many outside voices answer that question for you. Mm-hmm. And that is so, so very important. I was saying to someone that I saw earlier on today that, because she was asking me about my stress levels, right? She's in the medical profession. She's asking me about my stress levels. And I said, actually, besides the co-parenting, which has that degree of stress, I'm not in a state of anxiety or distress, I was saying to her. And we used the word distress. And then I told her that next year I have decided that I'm doing the same thing with my other nephew. I'm staying in Joburg. I have decided, and it doesn't actually make me any less a nomad. Actually, it doesn't make me any less a nomad. And there's some people who I love and adore, and they're so special to me. And some of them are going to watch this podcast, who have said to me, but you're not being a nomad. You're not being the nomad. And, there's the internet now and that you can help these kids from anywhere but what it gives me, no one else can understand. And next year we are going to be assessing our friendships, our relationships, all different levels of partnerships, our work, our health, how we eat, what we eat, how we exercise, all those things. And the reason why all of it's going to come up is because it is the very point of it is to know thyself and know that nobody has the capacity to answer for you. Nobody. You've got to figure it out yourself. And it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky. And when it's not, when you haven't figured it out yourself, and you know that I animate the way that I imagine how the universe works, because we're always in co-creation, right? Can you just imagine, like, the orchestration of your life, guides, angels, guardian angels, whatever you believe, even if you just believe in one God source, right? Going, yes, in that low, broken self-esteem of yours that you want, that, sure, have it.
Yeah.
There's not a chance. So when things aren't aligning, whenever things aren't aligning, it's actually not to go outside of yourself at all and to come back to yourself and to go, like, am I being true to myself? Am I being honest with myself the whole time? Am I being true to myself? Am I being honest with myself? And what's my formula? That's the biggest thing. What's my formula? I don't know if you've seen yet, Di, because I just posted it now. My I've been struggling to lose the weight. I got to my goal weight and it's slowly creeping up. And my baby sister's at this, he sounds divine, but he's hectic gym trainer. So I've stopped doing as much cardio and I'm like pushing weights now. I'm pushing weights, right? And then my other sister is at, she's at her dietitian and they're doing, I can't remember what the proper term is now, carb swapping. So it's one day that's high carb, it's no carb.
Yeah. Yes, I've heard of that. Yeah.
They both look so, they've both lost so much weight. Both of them, with what they're doing, have lost so much weight. I have picked up weight. So I just had a complete wobble, and I actually went to my, I went to go and check it out, and yeah, I mean, this is what this podcast is about. I'm 51. I'm in perimenopause, and I've come off of contraceptive for the last time, so I can't go back on. I'm officially too old. And my body for a while is going, okay, well, there's no losing weight for a while. And you know that what I did was I completely mistrusted my formula. I mistrusted what I knew worked because I lost all the weight. And now it took me a while to just go back and go, but you know your formula, Joe. So you're going to go back to your formula. So tomorrow, I'm going back to my formula.
That's such a good point to bring up, Joe, because I mean, let's face it, women particularly, and I mean, I know there are men who also, but I think women and their weight issues, you know, it's almost like a flippin' gene that we are born with. You know, women who are too thin still can think that, you know, they're fat. And you bring up this good point about when we age and when you hit that perimenopause, it's like you have to get unstuck from having these expectations. Oh, I'll just go on a quick diet for 5 days and the weight will fall off. It doesn't. I mean, I'm through the menopause. My whole body shape changed. I never had, and you can't see it here and I'm not going to show you now, but I never had a belly. My weight was always on my thighs and my rear. And then suddenly I start going into menopause and I'm like, what is this thing that's now attached itself to what was once a flat stomach? And I've done so much work around body image. I've been on workshops and retreats, and finally, but even today, it's very seldom you'll see me in a swimming costume.
Yeah.
You know, and it is that you're 51, your body has changed. And
my body's now doing its own thing with hormones. Like it's been, you know, like there have been hormones in my system for so long. I mean, she was absolutely amazing. She really was so amazing today. But also, we did, you know, the webinar that we didn't do a webinar. What did we do? Well, whatever we did, when we spoke through how you eat, right? Your natural way of eating and your relationship with food.
I think it was a podcast episode.
Well, yeah, we did a podcast. Yeah. That is what I took so long to understand my personality and understand how I was born to eat and born to train, because you're actually born to eat a certain way and born to train a certain way. I mean, if not, then every single person would be able to be an athlete. Why do we think? Do you ever look at basketball players who are so tall, and then they also say, I mean, it was part of their soul contract to be the basketball player. It's a part of a ballerina's soul contract to be a ballerina. Like it's, you know, we're born that way. And I just wish that more people knew that, because I know that there's so many professionals out there who give advice, and the advice is good, but it's not tailored for you. Everything in your life has got to be tailored for you. And I think that is what people are going to start to figure out more and more and more. And the only way that you can create something that is tailored for you is to understand yourself.
That's, you know what, I'm always fascinated by these podcasts podcast because we never know what we're going to talk about. And somehow what comes out of our mouths leads into the most, it's so synchronistic because this morning I had a Zoom call. A friend of mine shared a post on Facebook for someone who is doing a nutritional course and wants to work with people who want to switch to, you'll be very happy, plant-based eating. And she's looking for people because obviously it's part of her training. So I dropped her a message and we had a thing today. And it also goes to this getting unstuck from a comfort zone. And I've had headaches my entire life. I've tried everything and anything except leaving off certain foods. And I eat pretty healthily. I mean, I don't do a lot of meat. I'm moving away from chicken. But she said to me, would you try leaving out your Greek yogurt and dairy for 3 weeks? She said, because I feel like this and the postnasal drip and the endless sinus. Mm-hmm. She said, dairy is so high, is so inflammatory, and I've got high inflammatory markers. And it's the first time that I've actually said, actually, yes, I'm so tired of feeling like this in the low energy. And it's like, I have to now take responsibility. If I want to feel as well as I want to feel and not be feeling like I do most days and these huge energy drops, I have to take responsibility for it. And it is that, it's like, oh, my cheese, I have to give up. I love cheese. But it's not, it's becoming that it's not worth it. And I think you put it so beautifully. It's like it's out of integrity with me and I'm out of integrity with my body. I'm not listening to my body because, I'd rather spend, 10 minutes eating a few pieces of cheese or a thing of yogurt and then spend day after day after day not feeling well. And it's no longer sitting well with me.
That's the thing.
That's exactly where I am. And she said, is weight loss a priority? And I said, no. My priority with that is I want a strong body. I'm going into the last third of my life, I want a strong body. So I'm more concerned with the exercise and the muscles and the weight, the weight-bearing exercises. I said, but I'm tired of not feeling well.
Yeah.
And it's got to a point now. And in my fridge, gold star for me, I've already made a chia pudding with coconut milk to put on tomorrow morning with my berries instead of yogurt because I can't get to the shops today to find an alternative. Yeah. But I feel it's that inner shift. It's like I'm actually ready to do this now. So I think to finish off, like, don't be hard on yourself. I think that's the biggest mistake. We go, okay, now I need to stop this, change, see that person, sign up for that course. Like she said to me, don't do this all at once. But start with the dairy. Can you commit for 3 weeks? And I went, yeah, I can commit for 3 weeks. Yeah. So on this note, because we are going into the silly season, and there is a lot of pressure to overindulge in many different ways, not just food and drink. Like, just take a moment and go, like, is this the best choice for me now? And we all indulge. I'm that 80-20, and she said to me today, 80%, if you can do it 80% of the time, but don't beat yourself up. I'm going to end with that wonderful Maya Angelou quote. When you know better, you do better. It's
Absolutely.
as simple as that.
Yeah, for sure. Good.
Okay. Right.
Amazing.
We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.